Okay, my friends, here it is, the video that's going to explain to you everything you need to know in order to grow nice, big, delicious heads of garlic that are going to store for you all winter long. So, I'm going to say some few words about it, and then I will take you through an entire season's worth of footage briefly so that you can see the process from planting all the way to harvesting, so that you have a better understanding of what is happening here. Now, garlic is unlike any of the other plants in the garden in the sense that we plant it in the fall time, because garlic must go through a process called vernalization, where it remains below a certain temperature for a certain amount of time so that that can induce the plant to go into dormancy, where it doesn't grow or it doesn't die, it just stays dormant, like sleeping. So that in the springtime, based upon the temperatures and things, it will come out of dormancy. And that's how you get the big, strong, pungent, beautiful heads of garlic. Now, so we plant in the fall time because we need that process of vernalization. Now, if you live in a climate that it doesn't get that cold, if the ground doesn't freeze where you're at, then you're going to have to artificially vernalize them through a process called stratification, which is very simple, actually. You just take your garlic that you're going to plant and you put it into the refrigerator for 4 to 5 weeks. Or if you have the ability to set a freezer between 20 and 30 degrees Fahrenheit, you can put it in the freezer for 2 to 3 weeks and then take it out and plant it. Okay, so that's the process of stratification. Very simple, very easy. All right, but if you live in like zone 7 and below or 6 and below, where the ground freezes solid like it does here, then you don't have to do that. You just plant it outside now and let nature vernalize it. So either way, the process is the same. Now, you can use your garlic. It's best to use the garlic that you just harvested a month or two ago, and you can just keep replanting your same garlic year after year. Now, there is a direct correlation between the size of the head, or the size of the clove, and the size that the head is going to be. So you want to choose the biggest, strongest cloves, and they will make the biggest, strongest heads. You see, this one was planted at the same time as this one last year. The only difference is that I planted a number of real small little cloves, and you get these tiny little heads, which is okay, it's still garlic, but you don't want to sit there and peel all those tiny little heads when you could just have 1 or 2 cloves of this equal the whole thing of this. And they get more pungent when they're like this. So you can either use the stuff that you grew last year, or you can purchase them from many different places, or you can simply, and now listen my friends, this is the secret, you can simply go to the organic store, the co-op or the farmer's market, and get you some of the locally grown garlic, as long as it's organic. And you can do the same thing with this. So yes, garlic from the grocery store, as long as it's organic, will work. Now, no matter where you get it from, all you're gonna do is take the head of garlic and bust it apart into these cloves. And it doesn't matter if it sort of takes some of the skin away. Let's see here. See, this one, some of the skin broke off. That's fine. It's still going to plant the same. And then we're going to take outside, like I'll show you in a moment, and we're going to plant it 2 or 3 inches deep. We're going to cover it all up, and we're going to be sure to plant it the same way that the bulb orients, okay? Down, the roots go down, you have to plant it that same way. And then 2 to 3 inches deep, then we're going to cover it up. And then in a few weeks, when we see the sprouts getting up, then we're going to sprinkle 2 to 3 inches of straw or shredded leaves or grass clippings, some kind of mulch. You really want to insulate the stuff over the wintertime. That's going to help a lot better in the springtime when it comes to grow. So one thing though, gardeners love to jump the gun because they're so enthusiastic. They want to get it all, they start their plants way too early and then they got huge, So a lot of people have been like, Nate, I got to plant my garlic. I'm waiting to plant the garlic, make the video. And I'm like, yeah, well, actually, you don't gain anything by planting the garlic too early. We only need a little bit. When you plant it, it's going to put down roots and then a small top shoot. We do not want it to get more than like 8 inches tall. If your garlic is getting more than 8 inches tall because you planted it too early, very likely that next year it's going to think it's in its 2nd year of growth because it's a biennial, and it's going to just produce flower, seed. It's not going to focus on making that big bulb. So that's why you want to time it just right. You want to time it so that it grows just enough, 2 to 3 inches, before the heavy frost sets in and everything. Nothing's growing when the heavy frost sets in. Okay, so for that reason, in zone 5B, 6A, northern Indiana, we plant anytime between Halloween and Thanksgiving. Those, I know it seems late, but as the soil is still warm enough to plant then. You can plant some now if you want, and especially if you're in zone like 3 or 4, go ahead and plant them probably now. I don't have a lot of experience in those zones, but like I said, you only need just a little bit of growth, because the main thing is the roots it puts down, and it goes through the process of vernalization. Okay, so let me show you guys how I do it. First step is to clear the space. Now I rotate garlic and green beans because garlic grows really well with the nitrogen that the green beans add to the soil. And you see how nice and fluffy and rich in organic matter the soil already is. But then you want to add a bucket or a couple shovel loads of either manure or compost, either chicken manure or cow manure or horse manure or rabbit manure. Any of those will work. And then I'm simply using the broad fork to just aerate the soil ever so slightly. I'm not tilling in any way. I'm just aerating it a little bit. And then I'm going to rake in the compost or the manure, whatever it is you're using. And then I will plant the garlic. And to do that, we are going to drill a hole with our finger about a finger depth, 2 to 3 inches. And we're going to remember to orient it correctly. It has to be oriented the same way that it grows in the bulb. So bottom side facing down. And then we will plant it into the ground a hand's width apart. It doesn't have to be any more than 4 inches on each side, front, back, side to side. I plant it all hands width apart, and then just rake it so that everything is covered. Then in a few weeks, once you start to see the green part pop up, then you want to cover loosely with 3 to 4 or even 5 inches of mulch. Now I use some old shredded straw. You don't want to use hay because hay will have a lot of weed seeds in it, and you can't get in to weed the garlic bed. And garlic does not like weeds, so you have to do like shredded leaves or grass clippings or even the pine shavings from animal bedding. That will all work. But you see how I've got them nice and tucked in, because that part's going to go away when the heavy freeze comes in. And now they're all tucked in, and Old Man Winter is going to set in, and they are going to spend the next 2 to 3 months completely in frozen ground, usually with a blanket of snow on top. Then at long last, spring arrives. Here on March 9th, the garlic is some of the very first things to be poking its head up through the mulch. And it's going to grow nice and strong, really early, earlier than most things. Here is April 6th, and the garlic is looking nice and good. And we can see that the mulch is really helping to suppress any kind of weeds. It's also keeping them a relatively stable temperature. And I've put down some additional mulch as well when I first saw them growing. Now, here we are on May 9th, and they are at least 2 feet tall. They are in full bulbing mode, and there's some elephant garlic to the right, couple of cloves of that. And then we have June 27th. And this varies by about a week or even 2 weeks, depending on that year's particular weather. But then we will simply, you can use a spade as well, but I just like to pull them like this. And you will see that we have these nice, big, plump clove heads of garlic. Now, this is harvested right at the right time, and I'll make a video about how to harvest that. But we want to then take our bounty and hang them upside down to dry for a number of weeks. So there you go, my friends. Now you know how to grow the garlic. So if you feel like you gained something from the video, give it a thumbs up. Also, leave a comment. The first thing that comes to mind, put it in the comments. It helps the channel to grow. And then also, if you are wanting to grow mushrooms indoors with us this winter on the channel, also microgreens and also sprouts, then check out the links in the descriptions so that you can get the supplies. Okay, so because we're going to be starting those videos in about 3 weeks to a month, give or take. Once the outdoor season has fully come to an end, the indoor season is just beginning, my friends. Do you smell garlic?
I smell something.
Do you smell garlic somewhere?